Ladies, have you been wanting to make a change, but you don't feel ready? Here's the truth. Readiness is a lie. The model of confidence for women is backward, and we need to flip it. I'm Cara Moeller Poppitt, author of a new book, Big Freaking Change. After coaching thousands of women, I discovered action gives us confidence, not the other way around. If we wait to feel ready, we'll wait forever. So if you're ready to get unstuck and step into the life you've always dreamed about, visit bigfreakingchange.com right now and order your copy. Welcome to the Big Freaking Change podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of those who took bold action, embraced uncertainty, and transformed their lives without ever feeling ready. I'm your host, Cara Moeller Poppitt, author of The Big Freaking Change and the creator of the Get Unstuck Cycle of Change model. Each week, we'll sit down with remarkable individuals who have taken bold steps in their lives, personally and professionally, to make meaningful change. Whether you're seeking a career shift, personal growth, or a boost in confidence, our goal is to inspire you to stop waiting and start taking action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Freaking Change. I'm your host, Cara Moeller Poppitt, and I'm so happy to be here with my dear friend, Jessica Battle. Jessica, thank you for coming today.
Of course, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so Jessica, I'd love to just read your bio because there's so much brilliance that you share, and there's so much that you've done, but some of the biggest things is that you are referred to as the Queen of Pep Talks. You've lost over 100 pounds twice, which led to being featured in People magazine, the Huffington Post, and on Oprah.com. So I know you're a public speaker, you coach thousands, and you're really an advocate for change and what's possible. So I would love to just jump right in and for you to tell me about your biggest freaking change and how you lost 100 pounds and how your identity shifted in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that our identities continue to shift in life. I lost 100 pounds for the first time when I was 19 years old, and again in my early 20s after regaining all of the weight and some. And I think that there are so many changes that happen, especially in the health and wellness space when it comes to weight loss, because not only are you navigating a massive physical change, but the truth is, and I think anybody who's listening who has been on any kind of weight loss journey would know and agree that the biggest changes that have to happen to create sustainable weight loss actually have nothing to do with your body and everything to do with the way that you think about yourself. And I think that those are things, the first time that I lost 100 pounds, that I didn't realize. I very much so thought that losing the weight that I wanted and living in a body that would make me happy, because so many women think that the body is the thing that's going to make them happy, which it's not. But I thought that it had everything to do with just what I put in my mouth, the way that I ate, and how I moved my body. And I was capable of making some of those changes, which is why I lost 100 pounds the first time. But I didn't really learn anything about creating a better relationship with myself, a relationship that held me to a higher standard of self-care. And I think that losing weight and sustaining weight loss really has to do with your self-worth, your confidence in yourself, your belief in yourself, and how you believe you deserve to treat yourself. Because for so many women who are struggling with being unhappy in their bodies, what they're really struggling with is being unhappy with the choices that they're making that are resulting in the way that their body looks, not feeding themselves the way that they want to, not managing their stress, not sleeping enough, not taking care of their mindsets, not moving their body. And I think that the biggest identity shift for me the second time around in losing 100 pounds was realizing this doesn't actually have that much to do with what I'm eating and how I'm moving my body, but it more so has to do with the way that I treat myself as a human, the relationship that I have with myself, the way that I value myself, the standard that I hold myself to, what I'm willing to accept from myself, what I'm not willing to accept from myself, my level of commitment and dedication. I think that the physical transformation can be really amazing and it can make you feel really, really proud of yourself. But the mental and emotional and relationship with self-transformation that has to happen to achieve something as big as 100-pound weight loss is really what is most astounding and most important, because the things that I've learned about transforming my body have translated to so many other areas of my life, like learning to be a woman who is consistent and doesn't hold herself to a standard of perfection and doesn't have all or nothing thinking and doesn't have unrealistic expectations. Like learning those things about changing my body has translated into so many other areas of my life, as well as doing the work to improve the relationship that I have with myself. I now recognize that I have the ability to dream bigger for my life because I believe in my ability, you know?
It's so powerful. Like, yes, you lost the weight, but you've tapped into an inner sense of worth, right?
Hmm.
You've done the action, you created the habit, but you learned to love yourself and respect your boundaries in the process. And that's so powerful. And I think for all the people listening that want to get into a better physical appearance or physical goal, I always like to tell clients, it's not the actual goal that I want you to be attached to. It's the feeling that you think the goal is going to give you. And then let's go like 5 steps deeper. And then that's actually what's going to motivate you. But we have to do that work to have that understanding and that unfolding of ourselves so that we can get to a sustainable change, right? Otherwise, we rebound and we're constantly battling with ourselves. So that inner healing and that inner awareness and awakening is so profound. So I loved your keynote presentation, Jessica, that you share. I remember this moment that you shared that you're like, I thought the heavens would open and I would stand there and, everything would be perfect. And I think for
Yeah.
so many of us, we have this idea that if I look a certain way, I'll feel a certain way. Can you go a
Hmm.
little deeper into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would even take it a step further. And like, yes, a lot of my story is related to the way that I look, but I think that in life, people attach happiness to end results in a lot of areas. If I make more money, I'll be happier. If I have a better partner, I'll be happier. If I have a bigger house, I'll be happier. If I have a new job, if I fill in the blank, like this belief of I'll be happy when I arrive somewhere other than where I am right now. And the most profound lesson that I learned through experiencing, because what you're referencing in my keynote is I share like the day that I stepped on the scale and I saw like, oh my gosh, I lost 100 pounds. I really did think that like I was so naive. I thought that like overnight my life was going to shift from like, this is my reality today and this is my reality tomorrow. And I'm just going to feel totally different. And it's like, life doesn't really work that way. You don't wake up one day feeling like, don't really love myself. And then just because a number on the scale is different or the number in your bank account is different, you have a newfound sense of worth and happiness that really is a work in progress. And what I had to realize is in the pursuit of achieving anything in my life, no matter where I'm going, no matter where I'm arriving to at the quote unquote finish line, I'm the one who is arriving there with me. And I am the creator of the way that I feel. And I am the one who is experiencing life. It's like you don't walk across the street and feel different because you walked across the street. It's like you went with yourself. Whatever thoughts you were thinking on this side of the street are the same thoughts that you're probably going to have on that side of the street. So it's like if we want to feel different in life, similar to what you said, I always encourage myself and my clients to stop getting attached to the end result and start really learning to enjoy the process of whatever it is that you're doing. Like for me, what makes me happy and accomplished in life is laying my head down at the end of the day, knowing that I did the best that I could for myself. That's like the finish line of happiness for me, rather than thinking I have to make it 6 months of being consistent on my diet and lose 50 pounds to be happy. It's like, if I did the best that I could today, given the energy that I had, the mood that I was in, the resources that I had, if I did the best that I could today, then I can feel really proud of myself and good about myself. And that is what I attach to being the thing that fulfills me, because I've realized in my life, building a successful business, losing 100 pounds, like achieving so many of the things that I never imagined I would, is like those things feel great temporarily. But once that newness and excitement of it wears off, it's like your life is still your life. So who are you being? How are you treating yourself? How are you talking to yourself? What are your habits? What are your routines? What are your standards? What are your boundaries? Those are the things that are creating a happy life, not the finish line of 100 pounds of weight loss or $1 million in your business. It's like when you arrive at that finish line, you're the one arriving with you. So make sure you're working on yourself.
Yeah, and the mindset, and I also call it like I do a lot of hand on heart exercises where it's like let's take some time to actually ground yourself, feel yourself, connect with yourself, ask yourself hard questions. Is we have a perception, you're so right that we have a perception that when this happens then that, but we are one person and we are constantly unfolding into the next version of ourselves. And the more we can choose authenticity
Mhm.
over attachment or over our ideal experience, I think we get to happiness, right? And we get to
Mhm.
experience these moments of joy, and we get to learn more about ourselves. And I love the work that you do about really allowing people to be who they are, share the highs and lows, and stay grounded in your values and your vision.
Yeah, because I think it's so important whenever I have a conversation about happiness. It's like for a lot of my life, I lived with the belief that happiness was this thing that once I arrived at a place of happiness, I would remain happy for the rest of my life. Like happiness was like going to be a permanent emotion. And I think there's so much talk about living a happy life and being happy. And it's like, yes, we want to be happy. Happiness can be a choice, but also happiness is one feeling and emotion out of many that we are meant to experience in life. And you might not always be happy. Like, I think I'm very much so in a season of my life right now where things are very, very hard. And a lot of days I wake up and my first feeling is not, oh, I'm really happy today. Can I look for small things throughout my day that bring me joy and make me feel happy? Absolutely. But my current state right now is not just naturally happy. And I think sometimes in life, we have to be okay with that and understand that just because you're not naturally feeling happy right now doesn't mean that you can't look to feel moments of joy and happiness. But also, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. You're just a human experiencing all of the emotions that you're meant to experience. And I think we've really demonized negative feeling emotions and we've made ourselves want to run away from them and not experience them because we're on this quest for nothing but happiness. But I have a full level of respect and appreciation for all of the range of emotions that I experience because I know that they're valuable to my character and who I am in my life experience.
Yeah, that's a great reminder for all of us. And I think sometimes when we go through hard times, we have to go through it to get to the other side. And going through it is like you learn more about yourself, you cry more, you analyze, you question, and then you get to an inner peace or an inner knowing, and that will carry you forward into the next chapter.
Absolutely.
Jessica, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you define courage and how courage shows up in your daily life.
Yeah, I'm very much in a season right now where courage is something that I've had to really work to practice. I think that the way that I define courage for myself is a trust in knowing and confidence within myself that I can take a risk in my life, not necessarily knowing with certainty what the outcome is going to be. And I think that if you're type A or you're a perfectionist or you are an overthinker, you can very much so be a person who wants to have it all figured out before you take that first step or before you take that leap of faith or before you decide to go on the quest to change your life. It's like, well, I want to know exactly how this is going to play out. I want to know exactly what's going to happen. I want to know every step that I need to take and what's on the other side and where this is going to lead me. And I think sometimes in life, we have to decide that we're going to be courageous, which means having a willingness to take that first step, even being unsure or uncertain how things might end or how things might play out. And I think for me, the foundation of being able to be a woman who makes courageous choices and is courageous really comes down to the level of trust that I have within myself, the level of confidence that I feel within myself, because I think we're all really good at imagining worst case scenario, right? And it's like before we take a risk, it's like, how bad could this end for me?
Yeah, so
instead of how good could this end for me, we're immediately like, how bad could this end for me? So I encourage you guys, like, if you can spend the time to imagine worst case scenario, spend the time imagining best case scenario as well. But when I find myself like ready to do something and it's my mind is like, how terribly could this end? Like, what is the worst thing that could happen here? It's like knowing that even if that happens, even if I fall flat on my face and there's no one there to support me, I am capable of picking myself up and continuing. I am capable of leading myself through whatever the hardship might be. And the more you trust in yourself to be able to do that, the easier and easier it becomes to say, I want to take this risk and I'm courageous enough to do so.
It's so true that it's a relationship with yourself, right? It's that trust. And I always tell people you don't need more confidence. Confidence will come. You need to flex your courage muscle. And it's by taking the next step and the next step and the next step without knowing the entire plan. Science will show that women strive for perfection and procrastination. So it's a loop that we constantly live in. We want to over prepare because we want safety and we want that security. And in doing so, we're striving for perfection. Can you speak a little bit on what you see as some ways that we can manage perfectionism, like we're to not strive for it? So I always tell my working team, let's strive for excellence. And if you've done an excellent job, I'm happy with that. Nothing's going to be perfect, but sometimes it's a fine line, right? Like how hard do you push? How, where is your direction? So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about some tips on how to really be mindful of working hard versus striving for perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a fine line and something that I say on my social media platforms and to my clients often, and even to myself, especially in this season of my life, is there's a very fine line between giving yourself grace and calling yourself out on your own kind of bullshit excuses that you have for yourself. When do you know I don't need to push harder and it's okay for this to be imperfect versus when should I be pushing harder and trying to make this better? And unfortunately, we're the only ones that know like which side of that line we're on and when we need to be calling ourselves out and when we need to be pushing ourselves. But what I have realized when I took a step back in my life and looked at perfectionism and the way that it made me show up was perfectionism and my desire to be perfect kept me living in this kind of loop of like starting and working towards my goals really, really strong for a short period of time, realizing I was pushing way too hard and couldn't sustain that level of effort, feeling like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do this perfectly. F it, I'm just not going to do anything at all, sabotaging myself for days or weeks or months, and then getting to a point of self-hatred again where it's like I have to start again, starting and giving a ton of effort, thinking that like I'm going to hurry up and get to this end result, and just like living in this loop of starting and stopping over and over and over. And I found that I was able to take like 10 steps forward, but then as soon as I got exhausted from trying to be perfect, I completely abandoned everything, quit, and took 15 steps backwards. And I started questioning myself of like, what if instead of believing that I needed to give 150% effort, which for me was how I defined perfect, like I'm going as hard as I can every single day, doing every single thing that I said I was going to do, what if instead of seeing that as the only option, I realized that there are different levels of effort that I am capable of giving, and perfect isn't the only one that's valuable? Because I think all of us, especially women, can acknowledge that if you're a menstruating woman, or a woman that's living
Yeah,
a
let's
life in
be real.
general, like let's be real, if you have a period, you know that the first week of your cycle feels very different than the last week of your cycle in terms of your energy and your mood and what you're capable of giving. And that's not the only thing that causes changes and fluctuations, right? So I had to realize like on Monday, I might wake up and feel amazing and feel like I have 150% effort to give. But Tuesday, I might wake up and feel like I don't have that level of effort. But why is in my head the only other option to then just do nothing? What if there was an option to give 50% effort? What if there was an option to give 10% effort? And I began to realize for myself that working in that way, where I'm showing up and putting my best foot forward daily, I'm going to make it so much further than crashing and burning every couple of weeks and completely abandoning myself. And I also learned that I didn't actually feel the need to be perfect. I felt the need to follow through with the commitments that I made to myself. And when I realized like it doesn't need to look the same every single day, I could value the effort that I was putting in. I could see value in doing just a little bit because it's like I still showed up for what matters to me. Maybe not as well as I did yesterday, but I still showed up and kept the commitments that I made to myself. I think that if a lot of people are being honest, and I will always say, like, I'm very much a tough love person. And if this offends anybody, I apologize. But I do think that a lot of us use perfectionism as an excuse to not put in effort because it's just so easy to say, I can't do it all today exactly as I hoped. So I'm just going to do nothing. And I think that we have to start to challenge not just the perfectionism narrative, but so many of the narratives that we have adopted in our lives that live on repeat. I think we have to challenge who we tell ourselves we are because we believe that. And if you keep saying you're a perfectionist, then you're going to continue to believe that you're a perfectionist. And if that's not who you want to be anymore, then stop identifying yourself that way. We have a lot of power in our brains to shift the way that we think about ourselves if we decide, I don't this version of me that I'm claiming to be is not serving me. Being a perfectionist was not serving me. So why do I keep telling myself I'm a perfectionist? And what do I have to do to break free from the way that perfectionism presents itself in my own life and habits?
It's a great conversation, and there's so much research and science that will say that women have been programmed this way, not just gender roles, but culturally, that we take care of everybody else. We put other people's needs in front of our own. For people that are mothers, it's even heightened. And I think for all of us, it's kind of, we got to have that self-regulation and that self-check-in of how am I doing today?
Mm-hmm.
What steps can I make today that are going to help me move forward? And it can be that simple. I love Alicia Keys, This Girl's
Mm-hmm.
on Fire. I listen to it every morning. And if I can't work out for 10, 15, 20, half an hour, I will do one song. and it's 3 minutes and I give it all I have in those 3 minutes. Now, my
Exactly.
body's not going to feel like, oh, I just got the best workout of my life. But my mind goes, I kept my commitment to myself. And that
Mhm.
gives me that confidence and that power to go
Yep.
like, okay, this girl's on fire. Let's go. Right. And if you can't cheer for yourself and keep your own commitment to yourself, that's the most important one. And I think it's the one that most women forget, like we'll put ourselves on our to-do list eventually, but there's so many demands, and then you just get to the bottom of your list. And I encourage everyone, take care of yourself first. You'll
Yeah.
have more energy for your work, for your family, for your friends.
Yep.
And so I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah, I think the narrative that the world has tried to put on women that self-care and putting themselves first is selfish in some capacity is very, very damaging for individual well-being, but also societal well-being. Because I just think if you really begin to see prioritizing yourself as an opportunity to show up as your best self for the people around you, it's like you're only better serving your children, your partner, your community, your employees, your coworkers, your business, whoever it is that you surround yourself with. The better you show up to those spaces, the better impact you have. And I think we often overlook the ripple of like the impact that every single one of us has in the conversations that we share and the leadership that we embody or don't embody. And I think that a lot of women want to be good examples for their children, but they fail to realize that you lead by example. If you want your children to prioritize themselves as they grow into adults and make good choices for themselves, you have to embody that for them. And I am not a mom, but I very much so live in a leadership role and realize that the way that I lead myself impacts the way the people around me lead themselves, right? So recognizing that you prioritizing yourself is the best thing that you can do for your life and the people who get to experience you.
hmm it was fun. Just a couple weeks ago, my older son, Caden, he's 13, and he is now starting to, want to have protein in his shakes and do all these things, right?
I
And
love
it's
that.
it's so fun. I love it. And his one friend has a six pack, and so he's like now paying attention. And we have a little gym in our house. And one day he's like, "Mom, I want to go for a run with you." I'm like, "With me?" Sure, because usually he goes with his friends. And he creamed me. Like, I was like, Caden, I cannot keep up to you. Like, you keep running. When you get to your end point, like, just do some jumping jacks or some push ups until I get to you, because there's just no way I can keep up to you.
Yeah.
And he was so wonderful. He's like, "Mom, you are strong. Come on, Mom, you got this." And it was so nice that he was saying the language that I used for all my kids, like, you can do anything, believe in
Yeah.
yourself. So he was
Oh,
just giving it to me like, "Mom, you could do anything." And I was
that's
like, this is
amazing.
so great that I can have this reflection. So it
Absolutely.
is
What a
true.
heartwarming moment for you. And like,
Yeah.
if that's the energy that he shows up with for you, like he's probably doing the same for his friends and his peers,
Yeah.
like, and what an amazing influence he gets to be. And I just think the ripple that all of us create as humans is so massive. And I think can sometimes think like, oh, like it's just me in my own little world or my own little bubble. But it's like, no, you're a leader in life. Every single one of us are leaders. And like, what kind of leader are you going to choose to be for the people around you?
Percent. And I like to, even if you're not a leader, leading a business or something
Hmm.
like that, by definition, I think we're all leaders. Like, we have to
Hmm.
lead ourselves. Then you can lead community, you can lead a movement, lead a conversation, a discussion. And I think so many times we have this all or nothing mentality that you spoke about, that if I can't do all of it, or I'm not going to be the official leader or the official
Hmm.
whatever, I'm not going to do any.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder for all of us to just show up for ourselves, right? I think if we can learn that habit, show up for yourself, then I feel like we can make the movement and do the big things.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Jessica, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your work and the clients you serve, and maybe some common myths or some common objections people have around making change.
Yeah, a lot. I think that so the majority of the work that I do with my clients is based around body image, relationship with food, health, and wellness. A lot of women come to me wanting to lose weight, often is a leading desire, but the things that we really work on are a lot of the things that we've talked about here: relationship with self, consistency, understanding how to overcome some of your self sabotaging patterns and behaviors like perfectionism and unrealistic expectations and all or nothing thinking. We work a lot on confidence and your ability to build your confidence. I think one of the things that you had said earlier in our conversation that a lot of people that I work with struggle with is this belief that if I am not confident today, I'm never capable of being confident, because confidence is something that I am or I am not. And I believe that it's so important for people to realize that confidence is something that is built through action and consistency and developing the relationship that you have with yourself. I think that we have to learn to hold space for the discomfort of not knowing how things are going to end. And I think that that's a lot of what confidence is like, I'm going to do this even if I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I don't know if I'm going to be good at it. And I don't know that I'm going to be the best. And I might be a little embarrassed and I might feel a little bit silly. But after I do the thing, because how many of us, I'm super guilty of this, especially as a speaker. How many times do I like freak myself out of like, I'm so nervous and this is going to be so scary and it's going to be so bad and the people aren't going to like me and I'm not going to remember what to say, and like all of these like weird stories that we create. And then on the other side, we're like, that was so amazing. I had so much fun. I can't wait to do it again. It's like we freak ourselves out of like how experiences are going to end. And if we actually take a look back at the things that we've been afraid to do, I think most of us can agree that things often turn out better than we ever imagined that they would. And it's like, allow those pieces of evidence to go into a bank for you of like, I felt this before, I was afraid before, I did it and it turned out good. And the more you continue to do that, the more your confidence in your abilities grows. And the more confidence you have, the more risk you're willing to take, the more courageous you can be. But like you said, you have to be willing to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations first. And I think that a lot of women feel as though if they've never done that before, then they're not capable of doing that. But what I would encourage people to think about is every single one of us has put ourselves in a situation where we weren't confident. The first day of school, like who was confident on the first day of school? Like who was confident on the first day of their job? Who was confident at the first day of motherhood? Who was confident? Like you weren't confident, but you did it because you had no other choice, right? It's like, I don't have an option to go to school. I don't have an option to raise this child that I just gave birth to. So you do it. But so often when it comes to our own goals and our own personal dreams and the transformation that we want to undergo, that almost feels optional. It's like, oh, I can't do it now because it's an option for me not to. So it's like, you have to recognize that your dreams and goals and desires for yourself are no longer optional. And when you take the steps towards doing them and creating them, you will become more confident. It doesn't have to be something that you're born with.
100%. And it's not a trait, and it's often misunderstood. I believe confidence is a muscle, just like working out. You don't work out once and you're fit for the rest of your life.
Yep.
Something you got to do daily.
Yep.
And, our brain has 95% is wired subconsciously that we just automate all these things. And so that 5% we have to be really intentional about. And if we want to change the way we think, feel, or do, we have to go into the mindset of, unpacking, where do these limiting beliefs come from?
Yep.
Voices are in my head. What stories have I been told? And how am I choosing to show up today?
Yep.
And I think if we can have that mantra, it's less pressure on ourselves. And even the idea that we are supposed to change and evolve, and even the word change gives like a negative reaction to a lot of people, because change implies work, and change also implies risk, right? We don't know when we're making those changes. And the brain is wired as a prediction machine. It likes that certainty at all costs. So when women are wanting to make any type of change, let's talk body, their physical routine, maybe their water consumption, what they're eating, all of these things, I feel like sometimes we're our worst enemies, right? We don't believe it's possible, or we self-sabotage. Talk to me about how you get people on the other side of making the change. Like, what are the tools, or what kind of language do you use to make people feel that it is normal to feel uncomfortable and overwhelmed when you make change? And you have the fear, but you're going to take it with you. But talk to me about what comes up for you and how you help people.
Yeah, I think one of the most foundational pieces of really creating change for anyone, no matter what the change is really working on developing the self-awareness of why you are where you are right now. I think that a lot of people attach themselves to achieving things, number one, without really knowing why they want to achieve them. There's very like surface level, like for the body, it's like, oh, I just really want to be skinny. Like, I just really want to fit into a size 2 pants. Or like for me, many years ago, it's like, oh, I've just always wanted to be 145 pounds. It's like, that's not a valuable enough reason to pursue achieving something. We really do have to be emotionally connected to why we want what we want. So I really encourage people, as a first step, identify clearly what you want and why you want it. Why does this mean something to you? Why is this valuable for you? Because we do have to recognize that the motivation we feel when we start it's going to disappear. It's going to fade. There's going to come a point where that motivation is non-existent. May it re-arise at some point? Sure, absolutely. But your motivation is not going to be consistent while you pursue your goals. So you really have to have something emotionally driving you to creating the change that you want. period. You also then have to recognize, why am I not there right now? What is standing in the way of you actually achieving the things that you want for yourself? Who are you being to yourself? How are you talking about yourself? What patterns and behaviors are you participating in? What are your daily habits? What are the habits that are serving you? What are the habits that are holding you back? When you've been consistent and you're feeling like, I don't want to today, what are the limiting beliefs and thoughts that are presenting themselves that have you deciding that you're just not going to show up for yourself anymore? And like really working on being able to not live life in autopilot. We have to learn to understand, and I don't think enough people think about this. We have to learn to understand the consequences of our choices, and how a choice that right now might feel so small, that choice being made over and over and over and over and over again is creating a really big result. And I think people are so desperate and hungry for quick change and wanting overnight results and wanting to get there tomorrow, that they feel like they have to make these big, massive changes in order to get to the place where they want to be, failing to realize that the bigger and more massive of a change you make straight out of the gate, the less likely it's going to be that you're able to sustain that. So it's like finding value in the small things. Like when I work with people and they come to me and they're like, my goal is to lose 50 pounds. I'm like, okay, wonderful. What does your, nutrition look like right now? What does your relationship with fitness look like right now? And they tell me, well, I binge eat every day and I haven't worked out in 3 years. And I say, okay, amazing. What would you like for your fitness routine to look like, for example? I aspire to be like you, Jessica. I want to be a power lifter who's in the gym 6 days a week for an hour a day. Okay, amazing. That's a great goal to have in 12 years because that's how long I've been fitnessing, right? That's how long I've been working out. So wonderful. Love that goal. Completely unrealistic for you to go from being a person who hasn't worked out in 3 years to being a power lifter who's in the gym 6 days a week for an hour. Unrealistic to do that overnight. One of the things that I have to teach people is to see value in starting by working out 15 minutes a day, 2 days a week. And people don't see value in small changes like that. It's like they want to stand in their own way and think, I either do nothing or I do everything exactly as I hoped I would. And it's like, that will never be sustainable for 99% of people. Are there anomalies? Of course, there might be a person who can make that change and they're committed to it. But I have to help the women who come to me realize there's value in taking small steps forward. And the more you build your capacity to hold those small steps forward, the more you can take on and the more you can take on over time. But I think that people are trying to take on too much too fast, and it leads to crashing and burning. So self-awareness of how that cycle has presented in your life, and how do you work on finding value and taking small steps forward and recognizing that in 5 years, you'll be in a totally different place. But the problem for most people is they want to be in a totally different place in 5 weeks, not 5 years. Practicing patience, understanding that true change and transformation takes time. Anything that comes fast is likely going to end fast as well. Learn to enjoy the journey and practice self-awareness and intentionality throughout your day by recognizing there are consequences to my behaviors. When it comes to health and fitness, I think many people take their current health and body for granted, thinking this is how it will always be. But if over the last 5 years, your health or your body has declined in any capacity, if you continue making those choices, it will continue to decline. So what choices are you making to better yourself? And I think you said something a couple of minutes ago about confidence being like a muscle that we have to practice and we have to use and we have to build. Changing your life in any capacity requires waking up every day and deciding that you're going to change your life. It's like it might never come naturally to make the choices that you want to make, because if it came naturally, you would naturally be where you want to be, right? So it's
That's
like
right.
you have to make conscious choices every single day. And there really is no finish line to creating the transformation that you want, because whatever work you're doing to get where you want to be is work you also have to do to stay in that place or to continue to grow.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. In my book, I talk about small shifts lead to massive
Mhm.
change.
Mhm.
And that's really what you're talking about here. And I think so many times we want to get to the end result for different reasons. But every time we get to a new peak, our
Mhm.
lens and our viewpoint changes and we discover what else is possible. And I think this is the beauty of being a human, that you actually never get to a destination where you're totally fulfilled, because you're like, you see things differently. You're like,
Yep.
okay, what else is possible for me? And you keep climbing. And I think having a growth mindset and really being open to change and learning about yourself is the most beautiful gift you can give to yourself, right? Jessica, talk to me a little bit about roadblocks and how people overcome mental roadblocks when, you're giving them this feedback, this advice to make change, to be healthier, to work out for the 15 minutes. What are the common mental mindsets that keep showing up?
I think that much of what we've been talking about of like it doesn't feel like enough is something that
Yeah.
people really, really struggle with. And I think that we have to begin to challenge that narrative of why does that not feel like enough? Who told you that that wasn't enough? Where did that story come from? I think that also another block that I see for a lot of people when it comes to creating change for themselves is like this belief that because I've tried and failed so many times in the past, change isn't really possible for me. And I think that that's incredibly detrimental to people. And I get it. Like having lost 100 pounds and gained it all back, I certainly in periods of my life felt like a complete failure and like change might never be possible for me. But I think that we really have to begin to recognize that we are so capable of changing the way that we identify ourselves, and we're so capable of becoming like really whoever we want to be. Like, why did you decide that this is who you are? Who impacted you and made you feel like this is who you needed to be? And I think that one of the most important things that people need to overcome to create the lives that they want is the inner self narrative that's happening of like what are the thoughts that your brain is feeding to you? Why, if you can figure out why, but most importantly, why do you continue to believe that what your mind is telling you is true, right? Like always remind myself the thoughts that we have are not facts. And I believe that 9 out of 10 times, the thing that is going to sabotage us is the way that we are thinking, because most of us know the action to take, right? If you were like, you said to me today, Cara, I want to lose 10 pounds, like, great. I'm sure you know what to do if you wanted to lose 10 pounds. Tighten up on your nutrition, walk a little bit more, sleep a little bit better, increase the intensity of your exercise. You know what to do. But knowing is not enough. What are the reasons why you are not doing it? And it's because of the way that you're thinking, because of the stories that you're creating or the limiting beliefs that you're believing. And it's like when we learn to master our minds, we can really achieve anything that we want in life. And the beautiful thing is, and I wish more people realize this, is like mindset work, when you do it in one area of your life, it does truly translate to everything that you do. I really believe that because I spent so many years working on my mindset related to health and fitness, I'm able to so successfully run a business because it's like all of those lessons translate to these other areas of my life. Like when it came to managing my finances, all of these lessons came, like they translate to other areas. So it's like work on the way that you are thinking, because it is going to be the roadblock for you 100 times out of 100 times. You do not need to believe every thought that your brain feeds to you. I encourage my clients who are sabotaging themselves and experiencing especially mental roadblocks, become a more critical thinker. Like start questioning yourself. Like why? Like when is the last time that you had a thought that told you like, oh no, I'm not going to get up today and work out. I'm just going to lay here and binge Netflix. Like when's the last time that you really challenged yourself around that and said, but like, wait, why? Why do I want to believe that? Why do I believe that's what I need to do? Like start having real, genuine conversations with yourself. I think when I talk about the concept of being in a relationship with yourself, people don't really understand it. And it's like you are living with yourself 24/7, 365. You're the only person in life that you cannot ever escape, right? Like you don't get to close the door and escape yourself. You don't get to leave the room or go for a drive and escape yourself. Like you are with you. Start treating that relationship like a real one. Have honest conversations with yourself, challenge yourself, like ask yourself questions, dig deeper, because you will continue to sabotage yourself with the way that you're thinking.
100%. And we all need mindset updates, right?
Mhm.
What got us to a certain point won't keep getting us to the next point. And when we have friction with ourselves, if we can really understand why we have that thought and how is it showing up and how is it serving us and how is it
Mhm.
limiting us. So, you spoke my language, you watched the Netflix. I had not watched the Netflix and ate the chips because I was like, I just need a distraction right now, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, Cara, if that's what you choose to do, like own it. Appreciate the
Yep.
chips, get the pop, like indulge in it. But before I used to be thinking like, that I feel guilty for taking time.
Mhm.
Now I have to tell myself resting is investing. Like take that
Absolutely.
time, enjoy the Netflix, and then know that once it's over, life continues, right? To get
Exactly.
to get in that mindset of everyone needs rest. It's healthy in moderation. Working out, you might have a really great day, and another day you might feel like I need to stretch and do yoga. But that relationship with yourself is so true. And sometimes we often think, oh, I'm going to go on a vacation and just need to unplug. Well, you could go on a vacation and unplug, but you're still with yourself. You go where you go, right?
Exactly.
And the more you know about yourself, I think, is the greatest gift you can give to the world, because you're becoming the person, you're sharing the brilliance, you're sharing your gifts with what makes you authentically you.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Awesome. Jessica, I have loved our conversation today. I would love for you to tell us where our listeners can find you and learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening, you obviously love podcasts. My podcast is a really great place to connect with me. We do an episode every Wednesday. We have a really I think there's 450 some episodes over there. So a lot to listen to if you're interested in learning more about me and the work that I do and just being impacted. Like, the goal of my podcast is really to have a positive impact on women who come into my space, who want to improve their mindsets, improve their confidence, improve their relationship with food, feel better, be a woman who believes in her abilities and wants to dream big again for her future. That's really what I will empower you to do. It's the Queen of Pep Talks, available on all popular podcast platforms. And then Instagram is the best social media to connect with me. It's join_Jessica_XO. And that's where I share a lot of myself personally. I share very vulnerably on social media. I have always desired to be very authentic and take my audience through the realities of what it's like to change your life. And that includes a lot of highs. It also includes a lot of lows, a lot of wins, a lot of losses, a lot of celebrations, a lot of heartbreak. It's not an easy thing to change your life. And I admire any person who has decided, I want better for myself, and starts taking those steps forward. And just a reminder that, like, progress is not always linear, and anyone who is successful experiences setbacks and experiences failures, but those things are not indicators that you're not capable of being as wildly successful as you desire to be.
Well, I feel like I just got my pick me up for today. So thank you for being a blessing.
Course.
You always share so much gold. I love your presence. I love your power. I love your message, and really your story. What's made you is really amazing and profound. So friends, remember to make that step. It all starts with a step. It doesn't have to be all or nothing thinking. Really take time to be in relationship with yourself, update your mindset, and know that change is going to have highs and lows, and it's not a reason not to go. So make that move, and remember, the best relationship you can have is the one with yourself. Bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would be so grateful if you could share it with someone else that could benefit from it. Let's remember to change our relationship to change itself and take aligned action. If we want to make meaningful changes in our lives, we need to embrace stepping into the next version of ourselves in the process. Remember, stop waiting to feel ready and start taking action today.